Alrighty, guys, welcome to tonight's charting session. It is Wednesday, August 9th. I am very, very happy to be back home. I did not trade Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. I was in San Diego hosting an event with Danny Trades. It was super fun. Got a nice little break in. I met some of you guys at the event. It was super, super fun. And I'm glad to be back home and ready to get back into the market. So, signed out. Wait, hold on. Didn't make sure that didn't end the Zoom. Okay, I think we're good. All right. But I'm glad to be back. Let's kind of review the action because I haven't really been keeping up with the market. I've been looking on my phone here and there and seeing what's going on. Definitely some good setups I've seen you guys taking. I'm glad to see Ollie and some of you other guys killing it, even when I'm not here. So I kind of want to, this session, my plan is to go over the action from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, kind of review, see if there was any, possible setups, review kind of the overall action. I want you guys to give me some possible, or I want you guys to show me some of the trades you guys took this week. We'll review some of those, and then we'll end off by going over the action and then what we're going to be looking at going into tomorrow and the rest of the week. So let's get started. So first thing I kind of want to look at here is go back to around Friday of last week going into Monday and kind of review the action because I really liked this right here. So I kind of want to go here. And where we were right here, we have a clean sell side level, right? Stacked triple lows going into Monday. This was where I was watching. Going into the week, I'm pretty confident that we're going to break this area. So now the point is though is we don't know when we're going to come. We know that we're pretty confident that this is going to be the draw on liquidity going into the week. Again, especially looking at a bigger time frame, looking at NQ, we've swept that buy side level. We've now had displacement to the downside. We've retraced and rejected that fair value gap. So I'm definitely bearish going into Monday and going into this week, but I'm looking to see if there's really any opportunity for us to take advantage of a possible move. So the first thing I'm looking at that I want to see us happen going into Monday is we have this big range here, and us knowing, how markets move, we want to see us probably come back to discount of this range. So that's the first thing I was really paying attention to is before looking to take any sort of short, I want to see us come back to discount. Now, we tapped it right here. We started to sell off, but we actually formed more equal lows. So at that point in time, when we bounce, again, invalidating all these bearish PD arrays, we end up bouncing. We hold this fair value gap here, and then we end up going higher. That tells me the draw is going to be here. We're probably going to go higher. So when we come up, I'm watching us to get past that discount point. So right when we end up taking this high out, I'm going to be pretty bearish, especially we have a huge imbalance over here. So 15-minute time frame, we have a big fair value gap here that's looking really nice in discount. If I zoom in as well, maybe do a 5-minute, we maybe have even a more exact level. Yeah, it's pretty much the exact same fair value gap. But that's kind of where I'm watching. So going into Monday, I guess Monday opened up down here. Let's kind of zoom in and see if there's any possible trades that we could have taken here. Zoom out to the 1-minute. I actually really do like this possible setup right here. We ended up selling off, again, showing that the draw on liquidity is lower. In the morning, we come up, sweep this high here, get displacement of the downside, start coming up, and we end up forming this kind of internal sell side or buy side level, and we end up coming up, sweeping this level here, and we end up getting nice displacement to the downside. We get a pullback to that fair value gap. This was actually not a bad short opportunity. Now, I know we didn't sweep that overall buy side here, but we did sweep this buy side here, and what do we expect after sweeping that initial high? To probably go back to discount of whatever this range is, right? So if I draw on my fib here, you can see discount lies here. Now, we did end up touching that on that first move, but when we come back down and we continue to respect that level, that would have been not a bad short to take, especially when sweeping that internal level. Again, we come up, sweep this again, fail to reject higher, come up, again, fail to go higher, again, fail to go higher here. This is where we actually finally get displacement to the downside. We actually break through. Again, here, there's not really any displacement to the downside. We don't really have any sort of bearish fair value gap. This is when we actually, get a nice move to the downside. Shorts get tapped in. Again, what would your target be? Whatever that recent low is. So that would have been a nice short opportunity. Again, after sweeping this, I really probably wouldn't have taken any sort of long. I don't like taking longs when we have those equal lows below us. Again, the 15-minute, we know our sell side is going to be resting here. We know this is going to be an area we want to come back to. So going into Tuesday, most likely I would have been pretty cautious taking any sort of long, right? Because I'm primarily focused at this point in time that the draw on liquidity is equal low. So I want to see if we can find a setup targeting that low, right? So first thing, right, we want to see that high getting taken. All right, so let's zoom in here. Going into the 5-minute. All right, we've swept buy side. What am I looking at? We're in a bigger time frame imbalance. We've retraced back to discount of this range. We know we have triple equal lows below us. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for a break of structure to the downside, right? I want to see nice displacement to the downside. So we get a low, end up putting in here. Let's see if this low gets broken with big displacement. We're starting to kind of chop a little bit. There we finally go, right? Starting to get some move to the downside. This is where we finally get that move that we want to invalidate or validate our bias to the downside, right? Especially notice here we're invalidating this bullish 15-minute fair value gap. Again, what we always like to see, what is getting respected, what is getting disrespected. And this is what we like to see. We're respecting that bigger time frame bias, right? That 15-minute fair value gap selling off to the downside, and that internal bullish fair value gap here on the 15-minute is getting ran through, right? This is validating our bearish bias. So right when that low gets taken out, I want to see if we can get any sort of pullback to a fair value gap, and this would have most likely been the best possible short you could have taken would be in this 5-minute fair value gap. Now let's see if that gets tapped in. It didn't get tapped, so we'll see if there's any other opportunity. We get another 5-minute here. Let's see if that gets tapped. Doesn't get tapped. There we go. This fair value gap gets tapped. So now on a 5-minute fair value gap, my bias is still very, very bearish, right? I'm still very bearish here. At this point in time, I'd probably look at a bigger time frame. We do have a 15-minute fair value gap here. So if there is a setup that I would take, I would have to go down to a 1-minute and see if there was a 1-minute rejection. But normally when we get this kind of move, I want to zoom out a little bit and take whatever bigger time frame imbalance that is. So I would be paying attention. Again, we have two 15-minute. I zoom out more. So this is kind of where I would be watching, is this area on this 30-minute fair value gap here. Again, break a structure to the downside. We got a nice fair value gap, especially this inverse. We'll see if this inverse ends up getting tapped or not. Oh, let me take this off. Oh, I'm trying to take off. There we go. So I'm watching this 15-minute fair value gap that we have here. We'll see if we come back. There we go. Ends up getting tapped. Okay, so let me go back here. So right when this gets tapped, I want to see internal break a structure to the downside, right? So I'm looking at the 1 minute. I'm looking at whatever I'm here, 5-minute actually, because we have that 5-minute overlap here as well. Again, at this point in time, my bias is bearish, right? We've rejected off that 1 hour. We have displacement to the downside. The draw on liquidity is clearly going to be this low. So I'm looking to see internal buy side getting taken, or not really buy side, but some sort of internal rejection, which is right here, right? We come up, respect that. We're getting displacement to the downside. This point in time, I would look to take some sort of short opportunity. Probably here. This would have been a short here. But at this point in time, you got to realize as well, we do have more room to go to the upside. If I'm looking at the 5-minute, I want to make sure this range that we have here, we have not yet gone to discount. So I do want to be careful about that, but this would not be a bad opportunity to go short. Now, what would be the best possible setup, the best possible opportunity, is now that we have internal high put in, we have more structure. Again, guys, whenever I say that it's not clear to us to take a clean trade, now we have a clear draw on liquidity, but the setup is not high quality, right? This is when we can get a better high quality setup, is when we get internal buy side created inside of an already existing bias. So this is kind of the best A+ setup we get. So if that level gets taken, that would be the best possible setup we could have taken. Now it doesn't look like we did. We did end up coming back up, rejecting. So that short would have ended up playing out. At this point in time, again, I would hopefully already be in shorts by now trying to write this down. Let's see if there was any internal trades that we could have maybe taken. Maybe come up, sweep that high, look to reject. That would have been not a bad short as well. Looking to see lows. Come up, maybe sweep it one more time. Sweep that, come back to discount. There we go, that displacement as well. Again, this starts to end up building low resistance liquidity run. Do we end up coming back and sweeping that high? That would be pretty nice if we do, actually. Now, this looks like it would sell off right here. So this looks like, again, all this low resistance liquidity. Now come back, discount of this range. So this would probably look to sell off here. Looks like we're just kind of chopping on this time frame. 15-minute. Is this aftermarket? Oh, this is pre-market. That's why. Wait, when does session open at this point in time? Okay. So wait, maybe we actually do get this set up. So actually, I wouldn't even be trading at this time. We'll see if we get up into that high or not. I don't think we do. Yeah, we don't. At this point in time, okay. 3 equal lows below us here. I would probably look to just short this, to be honest, because this looks like we would just sell off at this point in time. Okay, market, we don't open yet. But at this point in time, if we reject this fair value gap, I would probably look to short this, to be honest. Yeah, this does not look bad here. There we go. We get that displacement downside. No pullback to that fair value gap, though. Internal swept. Expecting to probably see follow through just because of where we are in the charts. There we go. There's that follow through to the downside. Again, overall bias is still going to be those equal lows. Gets taken. Continue to the downside. At this point in time, it's later on in the day, Tuesday. Now, intraday, I wouldn't really look to maybe even... There could have been maybe some trades here. But again, we're kind of just consolidating at this area. We'll see if we end up holding this fair value gap or not. If we do, I would expect us to probably come here. Still kind of holding. There we go. Not too bad, actually. There actually was a setup here. Would expect the draw to be that high now. That looks like a nice long here. So the reason this would be a nice long is because, again, the structure we're forming here, clear draw would be this high. The reason is because, again, all these imbalances, bigger time frame, looking at that 15-minute, getting ran through, right, this 5-minute bearish fair value gap. Now that we're holding this fair value gap here, I would expect that to become the draw. The reason this would not be a bad long here is because we come down, we sweep internal. This looks like it would become low resistance liquidity run. We're pulling back to this fair value gap. This would not be a bad long here. Targeting that high. My stop would probably be somewhere. Not the best risk reward on this trade. There we go. That would have been a nice possible trade there. Good structure. Again, at this point in time, I would be expecting to probably see us retrace back to discount of whatever this range is. So we do have a fair value gap here. That does get tapped. We'll see if we get any sort of movement off of that. Internal now taken there. Let's zoom in here. Again, letting the structure kind of do its thing. At this point in time, it would be an aftermarket session. Let's go to bigger time frame here. Let the market do its thing here. Continue to go. Want to look at a 4-hour actually here. So we are coming back into that 4-hour imbalance as well as that fair value gap that we're kind of going through actually right now. Let's check the daily out here as well. Coming back. 4-hour, we have a nice order block here as well. We'll see if this gets tapped back as well. Let's go back to a 15-minute here. Again, at this point in time, just kind of waiting for internal structure. We'll see if we sweep this internal high here. Again, no displacement to the downside yet. There we go. We sweep. We're at that order block. So this is a point in time where I'd start to look for displacement. There we go. We started to get some sell-off pressure. At this point in time, I would be probably the draw. What I would want to see get taken is come back to this imbalance. We haven't yet taken or haven't yet really touched into this. There we go. We touch. We'll see if this fair value got pulled. So if this gets ran through right here, I would be pretty bearish at this point in time. So it does get ran through. Again, continuing to follow bearish bias at this point. Yeah, and then we just sell off at this point in time. I would expect the draw to be new lows. So we'll see. Again, big sell-off. Was this during the... Yeah, that was Wednesday. Big sell-off on Wednesday. Starts coming back down. And then I think we're at to where we are right now. Yeah. Damn, I just made 60 mil. All right. So a draw was actually pretty clear this week, actually. In my opinion, I think draw was pretty clear. Short-term, internal structure, and external structure was pretty clear on what the draw was. So, where are we right now? Let's talk about what we're going to be looking at going into tomorrow. So, kind of where we are on the charts. We'll start with NQ, and then we'll go over ES. But looking at NQ, again, I still am going to be bearish. And the reason is because we're actually in a really interesting part of the charts right now. I'm kind of excited to see how the next couple weeks play out. We've swept these buy-side level. Again, what we've been talking about in the previous sessions for a couple weeks now is we've been looking to see that final displacement to the downside to really solidify a bearish bias going into the month or going into, whatever we're looking at. And we finally gotten it. So you can see, let's clear a little bit of the stuff off. We've finally gotten that market structure shift on a bigger time frame. We've swept that buy-side level. We're actually getting a displacement through that low. So again, what do I expect to draw? Bigger time frame on a weekly. I do want to see us come back to here. This is what I believe the draw on liquidity is now on the weekly time frame. Internal, I do believe this is going to be the first low we touch. So looking at the 1 hour, what do I want to see going into tomorrow? Well, let's kind of see where we are right now. First thing we're going to draw out, anything that we want to draw and kind of see. This is the first thing. 15-minute fair value gap. We came up, touched it, rejected it. This is going to be our buy side level going into tomorrow. This is going to be our sell side level. I think the draw is going to be either one. I don't really care. I would much rather see us come up to this buy side level, though, and look to see a potential short. So that's kind of be the best possible trade that we could take, is going to see us possibly come up and look to take a trade here. That would be the best possible setup we could look to take tomorrow. So depending on what happens in the overnight session, is really going to test to see what opportunities arise. But in my opinion, I think this will be the best possible setup we could take, is if we get a nice push in the overnight session, take out that buy side level, and then look to take the sweep of it and look to take a short back to the downside. Now, if we don't, looking at the 1 hour here, we do have this big 1 hour fair value gap that we are in right now. So if we do continue to reject this, I would like to see us possibly come back to discount of this range. So we're coming up right now. Once we hit discount, we could look to see some possible internal structure as well. So what we could see here, again, we have some past inverse fair value gaps here that line up with us as well. We could see us come up here, look to maybe reject, and then possibly sell back off to the downside. That could be a possibility as well. So going into tomorrow, again, we'll see what happens in the overnight session. I am going to be overall bearish, but for the best possible setup, I would like to see us have a nice move to the upside in the overnight session to come up and sweep that buy side level. So let's take a look at ES here and see where we are here. Really nice. I think that there was a setup here. This was a nice. Let's see if there was a setup here. What day was this? Did I miss this? This was last Friday, actually. Came up, swept that big sell off here. Pretty much similar action on NQ. All right. I mean, in my opinion, ES is actually looking interesting. Let's start with the daily here. All right. So ES is actually back to where we wanted it to go. Last week we were talking about what the draw was, and I did want to see us come back to this fair value gap. This is where I did have my eye on. So going into tomorrow, I am going to be a little bit cautious. I am still bearish. I do think that we still see lower, but I do want to keep that in mind, right? As traders, we're always making sure the data being constantly fed to us. We want to make sure that sometimes if our bias is wrong, we could easily flip it and understand why. So where we are right now, notice the kind of hesitancy to go lower on ES. Notice every single low that we end up taking, there's really no sort of follow through here. So this is telling me one of two things. We're either going to have some sort of displacement back to the upside and get a move back towards highs, or we're going to either come up, sweep some sort of high, and then have a big push to the downside. But notice kind of what markets are doing here. We come down, we sweep, go back to discount. We come down, we sweep, go back to discount, come back, we sweep. I'm expecting the exact same thing, go back to discount of whatever this range is, and I think we've already done it right here. So we've already checked off that move here. We've already gone back to discount with this move. So going into tomorrow, depending on what happens, again, I want to draw in that short-term intermediate high that we have on NQ as well. There's going to be our internal buy side that we're going to be watching, and this is going to be our sell side. I am going to continue to be bearish. Now, the only thing that's going to make me bullish here is going to be what? Is if on a bigger time frame we can get displacement to the upside. Because looking at the 4 hour, for me to say that the draw is here, I need to see this. This is what I need to see if we are going to say the draw is higher. And this could absolutely play out. We could get a nice bounce tomorrow, get some displacement through this high, and this then becomes breaker to then go see this, right? So the only way that I'm going to be bullish in the week or the coming weeks is if we can get displacement through this high. But if we come up, we sweep this high and then go back lower, I'm still going to be bearish. And I still think that we possibly have lower to go, especially on NQ. And NQ looks like it's been the leader of, the overall action this week. ES looks like it's been a little bit more stronger. You can see NQ is having a little bit more follow through to the downside. But if we do get displacement through this high on a bigger time frame, again, this is a 4 hour, so we do have a lot of time here. 1 hour, we could come up and sweep this high as well. We could see higher, but until that happens, I'm going to continue to be bearish. So on a smaller time frame like this, 15-minute is what I'm going to get my intraday bias off of. Again, similar to what I'm looking at on ES, or on NQ, sorry, is if we continue to respect these inverse or this fair value gap here, I would expect to see lower prices. If this gets ran through, I would want to see us come up, sweep this buy side level, and then look to see the rejection here, and then look to see the sell-off back towards sell side, right? So the way that we like to overlap these models is by taking overall draw, right? We still think we're bearish. We still like to see lower. And if we get some sort of intermediate or internal swing high like this getting swept, this gives us a better possible opportunity to take shorts than if we were in a overall bull market, right? Since we're overall bearish, we've been selling off the last week or two. This gives us better probability and a better trade if we were going to be able to take some sort of, buy side level being swept to then see sell side. So that's what I'm going to be looking at going into tomorrow. Depends on what happens in the overnight session, but I would like to see either one of two things: come up, respect these fair value gaps here, then look to take internal short, or come up, sweep this high, then look to take a short. Now, if we do come up and we wake up tomorrow and we are like somewhere down here, then I would automatically expect to see a sell-off at open. If we come up here and then we see something like here at the open, I'm automatically expecting to see this at the open. Now, if we take this level out in the overnight session, then I'm going to be a little bit more cautious taking shorts going into tomorrow, right? Because that means sell side's already been swept, and that could mean we get some sort of push at the open to maybe see back higher, right? So that's something we want to pay attention to as well. Yeah, any questions? Or let's take a look at some charts. Let me read the chat a little bit. I took that trade, the exact one. Let's go. How are you so good at spotting this, bro? When I'm trading in the moment, it's hard to spot any of this. It's just a lot of experience. That's all it is. Again, price action is just a language. All you got to do is continue to practice and continue to read it. And the more that you do and the more experience you gain with it, the more it's going to be, easier for you to read. Yeah, it's all screen time. Again, so the reason why I think probably a lot of you guys maybe have gotten stopped out this week, probably taking longs with two zoomed in action. So I'm guessing you're looking at a 1 minute here. Yeah, you're looking at a 1 minute and you're trying to take a market structure shift with, break structure and a fair value gap. Now, a lot of the time, you're just going to get ran through trying to take this trade. And the reason is because you're failing to understand that for us to actually be bullish, we need to get break of structure on a bigger time frame, right? Because you got to understand where we are right now. If we're looking at NQ, or like let's say for example, if we look at NQ, right, and we went into today looking at this, right? Notice look how big these lows are, right? This is a 1 hour sell side level, right? If I look out to the 1 hour, come on, oh shit. If I'm looking at the 1 hour here and I see this sell side level, do I look down to a 1 minute to expect us to then automatically go back to whatever this high is? No, I don't. I need to see some sort of bigger time frame break of structure or bigger time frame validation for us to go higher. So I go into a 15 minute. Did we get any sort of break of structure to the upside? No, not really. 15 minute, you could say there's a high here. I wouldn't really. Maybe a 5 minute. Again, 5 minute will still be too zoomed in. I would need to see internal structure. So a lot of the problems that you guys have is you're too zoomed in and you're failing to understand the bigger time frame bias, right? That's why I always say, I am not bearish or I am not bullish until I see this, and this happen, right? And a lot of the times, I am going to use that bigger time frame bias to then take proper trades on a smaller time frame. So I am not looking to take any sort of trade if I don't have a clear understanding in an overall bigger bias, right? I'm using bigger time frame bias to understand where the draw on liquidity is, and then I can zoom in and take internal trades, right? That is a lot of things that we want to be able to have patience for. We want to be able to wait for that bigger time frame bias. Once it's clear to us, then that's when we can zoom in, look to see some internal trades and take trades targeting whatever the draw is, using that momentum to our advantage, right? But at this point in time, I'm not looking to take any sort of longs here until we get displacement to the upside. And honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I wouldn't really have taken any sort of really longs here. I mean, you could take the only really trade I would take is once you get this move to the upside, it's very choppy, but this choppy action gives me confidence that we're going to go back to whatever discount of this range is. So at this point in time, when we sweep sell side, we start getting some move to the upside. We're not really having any resistance back to the downside. We're slowly just kind of moving up. This is when you could look to take maybe some internal trades. We have a 5 minute. Once this holds, maybe look for a break of structure to the upside, then target this high, then target, discount. That's some possibilities that you could take trades as well. But once that's taken, all of it is just waiting for internal structure, right? So kind of where we are is going to be the exact same thing. We're waiting for internal structure. The 5 minutes starting to play out. We're starting to get some highs and lows being put in, and I want to see us come up, sweep that internal high, and then look to take what the overall bias is, which is overall lower. Yeah, this looks good here as well. I do like this. Now, this displacement for me is honestly enough to say that this is not a bad short. Now, I know there's no really clear market structure shift. The short that you could take, the more probable short would be this fair value gap after these lows are taken, right? You get displacement, pull back to fair value gap. That would have been the short here. This you could say is early, but I wouldn't say this is early. The only reason why is because the amount of displacement you get to the downside. Notice this move to the upside takes out buy side and instantly just gets sold off right back to where we were inside this range. So I do like this short. Good risk to reward on this. This is actually really nice. I like this a lot. Sell side's taken here as well. That's a nice short. Internal buy side, displacement. Take off here. This to me is a little bit aggressive. Is this on the 15-minute? Oh, this is a 15-minute. So I'm guessing this is actually not too bad. If this is a 15-minute and then you got internal entry here, then that would not be bad. But if this was a 1-minute, then I would say no. But I like this 15-minute chart, actually. This is nice. I like this. Sell side swept. Holding fair value gap. Takes long. Targeting buy side. This looks good as well. Short. Not too bad. Wait for the rejection. Get some displacement. Targeting that sell side level. Targeting fair value. Yeah. You guys been doing good. That's a good trade as well. I like it. We went over that one. I was watching Jaji's DD today, and he talked about how he never takes the first long or short setup after taking liquidity. He waits for his second setup. Yes, I agree. Absolutely. Now, there's two ways that you can think about that. And a lot of the time, what he means by that is validating the draw. And if you guys really see how I trade, I trade very similar to that. A lot of the time, I'm not going to take the best possible entry I could take. The reason is because the best possible entry you could take is always going to be lower probability, because the best possible entry, you're basically guessing that the move is going to happen before it actually happens based off of, a little bit of information. Now, the second trade is when you get that initial entry, and that initial entry ends up paying off, and it validates the bias. And then you look for that second entry once you already have that added on conviction from the first entry that you missed. Yeah, I like this too. Dude, you guys have been taking some good trades. SMT, nice displacement, pulled back. Nice entry, bro. Great risk on that if you caught that. All right, let's check some other things as well. I want to check gold here as well, because I haven't really checked anything. Oh, gold is looking fucking good. This is a clear market maker model here. We got buy side of the curve, sell side of the curve. This is clear draw on liquidity on gold. What I could potentially see going into tomorrow's definitely pull back into that 4-hour fair value gap. I would most likely want to see this 1 hour here though. So I'm a little bit I'm short-term bullish on gold. I want to see us come back into this 1 hour and then look to see lower. Pull back. Did the body have to stay below mean threshold? No, it doesn't have to. As long as we get displacement back down out of that fair value gap, that's all I really need. Let's check YM as well. YM's been chopping. Again, YM, probably say the draw is going to be that low. Yeah, daily's looking like we want to sell off. Daily's looking like we want to sell off for sure. I would expect the draw to be discount of this range. That's where I would want to see price go. YM's actually not looking bad. YM looks like we want to sell off pretty hard, to be honest. Coming back up. Could potentially, what I would want to see is, again, same thing, come up, sweep that 15-minute high, and then look to take shorts. But we could come up, reject this fair value gap, and then look to see lower as well. Not looking bad, though. Not looking bad. Justin, would you ever fuck around one day and trade London with us? Special occasion type shit? Dude, I gotta go. London fucking opens up at midnight for me, bro. I'm being in bed, tucked away, snug as a bug in a fucking rug, ready for New York session tomorrow morning. Can you start posting the AM recordings? I might. The only reason why I don't post it is just because it's so much footage, and I don't want to go out and I don't want to have to edit it. It's so much editing. Because we go for like normally 2 hours every morning, at least. I mean, I could not edit it, but again, I feel like, I mean, if you guys want to go through that shit, again, the thing is, like, you'll have to go figure out what trades we took. Like, I don't know if you guys want to watch that much. I mean, if you guys want it, that I could start doing that. OTE is optimal trade entry. So if I draw my fib, this is what OTE is. Anything past discount. So 0.62 and 0.79 is what we call OTE. So if I'm looking at, you know, like this move to the downside right here, right? A lot of the times we'll go back to whatever OTE is and respect that area. So you'll find that when we retrace in some sort of trend, this is going to be the area that we look to reject most of the time to then go back lower is optimal trade entry. And again, the same thing with this range here as well, potentially, right? We got to sell off. We draw this in, could come up back to OTE and then look to sell off. But for a better possible setup, I would look to see buy side swept and then look to see a lower. Again, same thing here. We have a range. Where do we go back to? Perfectly go back to OTE, respect it, sell off. So you can draw it in a lot of ways and see how much we get respected. Justin, is Friday 10-10 fair value gap a good trade on NQ? What time frame? 1 minute. 10:10 a.m. Are you saying longs or where? Just by looking at this, I can tell you there's no trade here. We're not doing anything here. On Friday. Oh, I'm looking at fucking Wednesday. My bad. Wait, where am I? Oh, are you saying last Friday? Friday. All right, let's see this. 10:10. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad, but actually, I want to zoom out here and see where we are. It's not bad, but I wouldn't expect to see like this high, to be honest. I'm kind of surprised it took, like, again, it did, but at this point in time, I think the better would have been here just because you get that high being broken. But again, at this point in time, if you look at bigger time frame, like, I still think the overall draw is this low, but yeah, you could definitely take that internal sweep, and we do sweep this here as well. So it's actually not that bad of a trade. What'd the 5 minute look like? For me to be valid, like, for me to have confidence that this is the draw, once I see this get ran through, again, this is like back end discount, right? Once this gets ran through, this then becomes inverse. So this is where I would really look to take a trade for a confident setup. Again, when Dodgy was saying like why I don't take the first trade, I take the second trade. This is what I mean. I don't take this long here because this is less probability. Once I get more confirmation that the draw is higher, I then wait for internal. This becomes inverse. We go back to discount of this little leg here. Once we continue to respect this, we get displacement. Maybe look for, you know, maybe even just enter this and then look to put your stop somewhere down here and then look to see higher. But again, to me, there was really no high quality trade anywhere here. But definitely some good opportunity. Yeah, I will be live trading tomorrow. Volatility's been getting so much spicier compared to July. We're still only in August. I'm ready for the elections volatility. I know action's been looking good. I'm excited to get back in Thursday, and actually, especially, I'm glad that I came back later in the week too. We'll get some Thursday and Friday pricey. So Ali get his own guidance from him. How best to use him as a resource line to watch his trades and ask questions. Yeah, ask him questions. Watch his trades. Ask him why he's taking trades. He's been taking good setups. I'm glad to have him a part. Again, I like bringing on people that have some experience and they're having some good consistency. And I want to use, people that have been finding consistency for you guys to ask questions for. Again, the more that I can provide for you guys education wise, especially from other traders, that's the best. That's the goal. All right. I want to bring people on that I can see are having success. Because all of us trade a little bit differently, right? I'm sure that you see me and Johnny trade a little bit differently. Me and Ali trade a little bit differently, but we all trade similar concepts, right? So I want you guys to be able to find the best fit for you, right? Because we're all different people. We all have different personalities. So I want you guys to ask questions, see how he's trading, and see how you can maybe apply certain concepts to the way you trade as well. What is the fib divergence thing? Like I put the fib on the last move and then I have 1, -2. Yeah, that's standard. That the 1, -2 is standard deviation. That's used for something else, which everybody's been fucking telling me to make a video on it, so I'll probably make a video on it. I'll make a video. There's videos on it already. If you search up standard deviation ICT on YouTube, there's a bunch of videos on it. Can you talk about possible scenarios? Maybe you don't need break a structure or internal swept for a setup. The only times where that I would need something like that is if we have an SMT and the bigger draw on liquidity is clear to me. So like, for example, if I see this, for example, so let's say this is we're looking at a 15-minute here, right? We're looking at a 15-minute. Right, the clear draw to me is going to be here, right? We have like relative equal highs up here. Maybe we have equal highs, whatever it is. We just swept sell side, right? All right, let's just say this is the chart we're looking at, right? This is a 15-minute, right? So when I look at this, I'm like, okay, 15-minute, we just broke structure to the upside. We just swept, liquidity. My bias is going to be very bullish, and I'm confident that we're going to go at least 50%. And then once we validate or invalidate, whatever fair value gap we have here, I'm going to be confident that this is going to be the draw, right? So this is when I say, okay, now that my bigger time frame has told me that the overall draw is higher, that's when I zoom into a 1 minute and say, hey, let's wait for a pullback to some sort of fair value gap. Like, let's say we have, we chop here, whatever it is, and we pull back to like a 15-minute fair value gap here. Oh, sorry, fuck it. 15-minute fair value gap. And let's say we have an SMT here, right? So let's say the SMT is right here, and ES ended up taking this low, NQ ended up not taking this low. At this point in time, I could just press buy. I don't need a break of structure. I don't need a pullback to discount because my overall time frame bias is giving me an understanding that this is going to be low-hanging fruit. This high right here is going to be low-hanging fruit, and I'm pretty confident that this is going to get taken. So I just enter here, put my stop somewhere down here, and let the trade do its thing, and then let runners go to whatever the high is. But zooming in on a 1 minute, because normally I would zoom in and then look to see break a structure here, and then look to enter there, right? That's where I would mostly look for. But when we have an SMT like that, all I need is displacement back up and I'll enter. Elliot trades on TikTok. I have no idea who that is. How do you find retrace setups when you have a clear draw on liquidity? I get way too focused on the 1 minute. Need to start looking at higher time frames during the day, not just pre-market analysis. Yep. Again, guys, higher time frame bias is always going to be key. The 1 minute, if you're too focused on 1 minute, you're always going to get chopped up. And then, like we were just talking about earlier, like a lot of you guys probably got chopped up trying to take fucking longs when sell side on a 15-minute or a 1 hour gets swept, and you're not waiting for bigger time frame structure to validate whatever that bias is. Yeah, 100% Oscar. Much love, Robert. I'll see you tomorrow, brother. How do you know when to wait? Just experience. Just keep trading. Keep watching. Again, like we always talk about overlapping models. Overlapping models is what is going to make you understand and be able to read the market. It's all just overlapping models. It's saying, hey, we have a buy model on NQ on a 1 hour, but we're short right now on a 5 minute. Okay, what does that tell me? That means my internal 5 minute short model is probably going to finish, meaning I'm going to take some sort of internal sell side and then get buy side to go whatever towards the 15-minute draw on liquidity is, right? So that means if I'm taking shorts on a 5 minute, I should not hold that 5 minute short. I need to take whatever that internal sell side is and then look to take back long, right? It's all just overlapping models. That's all it is. It just takes experience to be able to read it. All right, guys. Any last questions for tonight? When you zoom out, you know what move you're catching. Are you catching the bigger move or are you catching the retracement on a bigger time frame? Exactly. You always have to be aware of where we are in the charts. Every time frame where we are. Replay session on daily candles? No, I'm not gonna. A lot of yeah, no. Yeah, I guess, but I mean, again, everything works. Like, I guess I can, but like, again, look here. Break a structure, pull back to fair value gap, sells off. What is the draw? This low, draw gets taken. What do I need to see for me to be bullish? I'm not bullish yet because we no break a structure. We continue to sell off. Internal break a structure. What do I see the draw and liquidity is? This, what would I expect? We form a fair value gap. I expect that daily fair value gap to get touched and then for us to sell off, right? So we have this. Daily candle should open. We should touch this. We should reject, and then we should go back lower. There you go. Again, I'm not, again, there's no reason for me to be bullish. Now, this is the only point in time where I could potentially be bullish now, right? We get displacement, and we have a daily fair value gap. But I'm not automatically looking for longs. Why am I not automatically looking for longs? Because once we come in here, that is when I zoom in, right? Because again, I want to wait on a daily. So now we take sell side or buy side. So we take buy side. That's when I zoom in. Wait for displacement to the downside. Boom, we get displacement below this low. So now I'm pretty short bias. This is when I have a bigger time frame bias. Hey, I'm short bias wherever we are right now. So maybe I can take longs internal, right? Because if I zoom in, hey, we're pretty... I can't zoom in that far, can I? There we go, 1 hour. So again, I'm bearish on a bigger time frame. Now, everybody's focused on this move to the upside saying, hey, we're probably going to go higher here. Now, we can. We absolutely can. But this... Okay, so this move to the outside, this is very, very bearish. This is giving me a clear draw that this is lower. Why? Because bigger time frame, 4 hour, we just rejected that imbalance. We've swapped the buy side. We've had displacement to the downside. We're forming a short model. We've reached expected discount. The drawn liquidity is going to be lower, so this is low-hanging fruit at this point. So that's when I zoom in and say, hey, should I take any longs here? Not really. What do I wait for? You could maybe scalp longs to this fair value gap, but I'm not looking to take that. I'm looking to take the higher quality setup, which means I'm looking to take whatever the bigger drawn liquidity is, right? So then we continue to sell off, break a structure. And I'm using that overall bigger time frame bias to give me a better understanding of what the draw is, right? We sweep internal. Maybe there's a setup here. I don't think I can zoom in any further than a 1 hour, maybe a 30-minute. There we go. But I don't really think I can. I can't really base a lot off this. Yeah, I can't really see lower. There we go. Should see lows. There we go. But again, it's using that overall time frame. Again, notice I know right when this happens, we're gonna see lot lower. Right when this happens, I know we're gonna see a lot lower. A lot lower. Again, looking at the daily. Again, perfect sell model here as well. Sell side swept, market structure shift, daily fair value gap pulls back to daily. What do we expect? Sell off to whatever the draw is at this point. It'd be this imbalance. And then we continue lower. Because notice we failed to bounce off this. Again, for me to be bullish here, right? Because we come down, that's when I zoom back in and say, hey, for me to be bullish at this point in time off this daily fair value gap means I need to break a structure like on a 4 hour. Notice we have all of these highs here. We sweep it. We sweep that high and then go back lower. We don't break through this. If we're bullish and for me to have a bullish bias, this needs to happen, right? We need to break through that with big displacement, but we never do. So I'm continuing to be bearish. Again, we come up, sweep this high here as well. So what do I expect the draw to be? Lower. Breakaway or measuring gaps for guys don't get touched. Breakaway, I mean, there's not really much to say. I mean, there's always going to be fair value gaps. That's what imbalances are, is just fair value gaps that just get created because of quick moves, right? Like this quick move here, this quick move here. Notice we never come back to touch this because it's a move to the downside. It's an expansion move. But notice when we actually do that. When we come up, sweep this high, continue to reject, sellers come in. Where was the best short? Where was the best short entry fair value gap in PM session dump today? I don't know. I didn't. Let's see. Come up, reject, fair value gap. This would have been not a bad short here. But I think the best possible short would have been this. Right here. Come up. We have a bigger time frame fair value gap. Come back up here. Once we get displacement, pull back. short. That would have been your best entry right here. Right here. Again, overlapping models, taking a bigger time frame for value gap. Right? We've come up, swept this high, rejecting off a 15-minute fair value gap. Sell off, break a structure. We have a 5-minute fair value gap. I zoom in again, wait for the rejection of that 5-minute. Break a structure, wait for the rejection, and then pull back into that 1 minute for my entry. I don't trade silver bullet. All right, guys. That is all I have for you tonight. If anybody has any further questions, again, always feel free to just at me in the VIP chat. Go get some rest, and I will see you all tomorrow morning for live trading. I'm glad to be back. Let's end off the week with a bang. And yeah, get some rest. I'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your night, guys.